Hi. Craig asked in relation to one of my articles about living near power lines and transmission lines that they are looking at purchasing a piece of land and building a house in a new development, and that there's some transmission lines that are clearly visible at a short-ish distance. So the question is, do the developers have any any requirement to reveal what the readings are? While law is of course not my expertise, I would imagine that land deemed as residential would have had that investigated from a government level in the past. So the power company would know what sort of levels radiation these transmission lines put out or what's expected, and based on that they'll assume if that land is suitable in relation to government rules, suitable for a residential area. Now the government exposure standards for magnetic fields are insanely high. In most countries is 1,000 milligauss or 100,000 nanoteslas. So it would have to be an astronomically powerful transmission line to render that land unsuitable as residential in the government's eyes. So I don't think there'll be much of a stumbling block to get land released to be residential, very close or potentially even under transmission lines, which I've seen. So I'm guessing there's rules in place for that to be assessed and deemed suitable, but because the rules are so incredibly high, or the exposures we're allowed to be exposed to are so incredibly high, it really doesn't mean anything. So as usual, the answer still stays the same. I get a lot of these questions. How close can I buy? What about this distance, this distance? It doesn't matter. You need to measure, right? So get yourself a quality Gauss meter, spend more than $100, right? You're going to make a big decision based on these readings. You're going to spend $300-400 on pre-purchase inspections and that sort of stuff. You can afford to invest a little bit in this department, get a quality Gauss meter. As an amateur meter, I think the TF2 from Alpha Lab is quite good, especially on magnetic fields. And if you look at the peak hold value, that comes very close to the professional meters that we use. And I also have an online course available to teach you how to use it, what to look for. You see videos of that meter being used in different situations, as in looking at a vacant piece of land, an existing home, what to measure, what to look out for, all those sorts of things. So with a meter in hand and with a little bit of training that you can guide yourself through online, watching videos, you'll be well equipped to go out and take readings, and you'll have some good information in your head in relation to the readings and the numbers that you'll be finding. So I hope this helps. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's rules in place, but those rules are just not safe enough to give us any level of protection. So you must measure. On a side note, you might be looking at the transmission lines because they're an eyesore and plain obvious in sight. What you're not looking at is probably the underground power running through that new development, which is far closer to your house and could be potentially a problem as well. In a new development, by the way, that can be tricky because sometimes the power isn't turned on yet. So we should assume that in a new development, this underground cabling is well balanced, meaning that there's the same amount of current is going active in the neutrals, and new houses that are attached to it all have fine, nicely new electrical systems, and so used current should return on the intended neutral paths. And when that's all working according to code, we shouldn't get an awful lot of magnetic fields. And having underground power is a bonus because the cables are closer together than if they were hanging suspended above the ground. So that's good, but you never know what happens in the future. So it would be advantageous to have these underground cables on the other side of the street and not be near an intersection of underground cables. I'm sure a developer would be able to cough up where those cables are. All right, hope that's useful. And if it is, please share this with others.